You are listening to Two Hotheads on Cannabis with your hosts, Mike Can and Heather Mack on unregularradio.com.
We have another question about Marc Emery. Are you familiar with Marc Emery, Congressman Frank?
No.
He was he's a man.
I didn't have any question about where you were coming from.
Yep.
When you said Marc Emery, that I knew that I'm talking to somebody from Massachusetts.
No, yeah, my accent, yeah.
Not M-O-C-K.
Marc Emery.
Mark, let me try that again. Marc Emery.
No, look, I like your good Boston accent. I just wasn't sure for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I know him. Who or what does he do?
He's a gentleman that runs a magazine up. He ran a magazine up in Canada, and he's a big activist for marijuana reform. And his activism, he sold seeds. He was selling seeds. Some of the seeds went to the United States. And he's in jail right now, in federal prison. And, you know, the DEA, the DEA, when they busted him, basically in their press release, they touted that they took him down, and it was a big blow to the marijuana reform activism. It seemed like they went after him for his activism because he stood up against Bush.
I'm very disappointed. This is one of the areas where I have had disappointed with the Obama administration. Bill Clinton was better on this because, one, we have states that allow marijuana to be used for medical purposes, and a couple of them are moving towards saying it's not criminal in general. And the Clinton administration said, look, if that's what the state wants to do, we will prosecute. The Bush administration undid that, not surprisingly, and was prosecuting people. The Obama administration hasn't gone all the way back as bad as Bush, but they're worse than they should be. They harass people, and some conservative views as an excuse not to. But you mentioned this man's in federal prison. That's an example. You know, we have a problem with prison overcrowding. We have a problem with too much expense. The notion that they would do that is very troublesome. And I'm not surprised to hear that the DEA, even under President Obama, decided to go after this man because they want to stop the effort to allow adults to smoke marijuana if they want to. This is one of the weakest parts of the Obama record, in my judgment. And I personally... my partner Jim and I went through the president and invited us after I announced my retirement, and it's one of the points we made to him that we thought this was a great mistake in his administration.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think that this has happened? Why do you think he's gone back on his promises?
Because he's afraid politically if he doesn't.
Right. It just seems so.
You have the threat that he's going to be considered to be soft on drugs. As I said. 20 years ago, I understood politicians taking a position, although I didn't agree. I found the legislation to make marijuana smoking legal for adults in 1972 when I first got elected to the state legislature. But by now, I have no sympathy for an elected official telling me, oh, well, you're right. Of course, we shouldn't let people have to smoke marijuana. And of course, if they're winning one of the three, it's probably less damaging than smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol, both of which are legal. The health effects of marijuana aren't as bad as tobacco. The behavioral effects of marijuana don't come close to being as disruptive as alcohol. But, people drink too much alcohol, they become double my struggle.
This is the day to do it.
Yesterday, who's a police officer, the federal police force, and he said, we've heard about bar brawls. I don't think anybody's ever talked about pot party brawls.
Yeah, no, huh? Right. No, none of them ever been reported. No overdoses, no pot brawls.
No, what happens is people drink too much, they become problematic. They smoke too much marijuana, they fall asleep.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to see a lot of the problematic drinking today, too. It's a perfect example of what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're in downtown Boston. It's a zoo. It is a zoo. We're inundated with people in green drinking and walking through, they don't honor the fact that they're supposed to walk at a certain time. They just take over the streets.
Yeah, we have their festival, and then we have our pot festival, and what happens? Any fist fights, any aggression?
Well, like I said, if you tell a police officer he's got to go bust up a group of young guys who've been drinking beer because they're making too much noise. It's 1 o'clock in the morning in a residential area. He's going to go in there prepared to maybe use his mace or even have his hand on his nightstick. If you tell him he's got to go bust up a group of people who've been smoking marijuana, he's probably more likely to bring a couple bags of potato chips.